Good evening, folks. How are you doing out there? Hope you're doing well. I already got a couple of comments. Let's see. President Trump has just had an excellent interview with Bev Turner of GB News. They might wind up having an affair together. That is correct, Blitzer Blazin' Noah. You beat me to it. So, I'm going to be talking, well, we're going to be starting off this live stream anyway. As you can see from the title, there is a major astrological event occurring on February 20th of next year. It is going to be an ideological reset. And I was thinking about doing a video specifically on this. Like, one of my regular 10, 20-minute videos. Except, although the site might be powerful in me, I'm not an astrologer yet. So this is something I am still grappling with. The thing about astrology is that there is so much math involved in it. Like it's up there with calculus, okay, for difficult math things that you can be doing. And so it's the sort of thing too where it's like a spider's web, where if you touch one part, the whole thing moves. And on top of that, you've also got the right brain interpretation, because it's all about the mathematical relationship of vibes. I mean, it's not dissimilar from film analysis, right? Films can be broken down into major characters, where they fit on the character wheel, which is just another version of the musical scale, actually. Actually, a brief aside, I'll tell you why modern movies suck. It's because nobody understood Campbell. The monomyth is when you put all the stories together. These are all the events that happen in all the stories. And so now they try and make movies and they shove the entire monomyth in. But you're not supposed to do that. Each individual story selects pieces from the monomyth to use. Same way that a song selects notes from the total scale of all music to use to make the song. It's not a better song if you use all the notes. And yet Hollywood seems to think so because they're morons. And so astrology is very similar. It's about vibes, the same way movies are about vibes, but there is structure to the whole damn thing. And might as well add something too. Every major scientist of the past 10 centuries has been a magician. Okay? So feel free not to believe in astrology. I don't care if you do or not. But anybody of any serious intellectual capability or accomplishment, they pretty much all did. Like 95% of them. And yeah, there's math involved. I love math, man. It's sexy. So, that said, I am going to be doing my best here, folks, but we're going to be kind of going on this journey together. So, let's talk about what this is all about. Which tab am I looking for? So the major thing is a Saturn-Neptunian conjunction in 0 degrees Aries. And as Blitzer Blazin' Noah said, the last time this happened was right before Sargon of Akkad, who used to be a cupbearer, took over Acadia. He went from being a server to being the first emperor. We went from a period of city-states to the new form of empire, which has lasted up until the present, more or less. At least the first empire this cycle of history. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that prior to the end of the Ice Age, I'm pretty sure there were Bronze Age, at minimum, Bronze Age civilizations. Human history is a lot older than the mainstream view of it, the provable, I should say, it's the provable view. That there is tentative evidence that human history is so much older. We just don't have any records for most of it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there was at least Bronze Age civilization before the end of the Ice Age, before the deluge. But this time around, 2300 BC, or sorry, 2300 BC, 4300 years ago, yeah, that's when Sargon of Akkad deposes the king, takes over the city, and then takes over all the surrounding cities, creating the first empire. And we've been doing that pretty consistently up to today. Blitzer Blazing Noah has something interesting. Let's see. I find Century 10 of Nostradamus's quatrains most interesting. Century Quatrain 71 is about Putin. Century Quatrain 72 is about Trump versus the deep state. Or deep space, but I think he meant deep state. They both coincide with Quatrain 72. That's about Iraq. You know, if you could post those, I'd be really interested. You know, Nostradamus burned most of his work because he didn't want it to get in the hands of the irresponsible people that he saw coming after him. Anyway, so last time we had this conjunction in 0 degrees Aries, which means at the start of Aries. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So to have a conjunction at 0 degrees Aries is, boom, new era. Now, what is this new era? Well, it's a Saturn Uranus conjunction. So Saturn gets a bit of a bad rep lately. Well, and because we are basically the rulers of the world right now are Saturn worshippers. By which I mean they're bankers. And you can see this. Lots of banks have black cube statues outside. Okay, it's right there if you want to look for it, right? The same thing with the Star of David. That's not, David didn't have a star, okay? The Star of David, that's a folded out cube. It's a hexagon. It's a hexagram. Saturn has the hexagon on the South Pole. Or is it north? One of the two poles. Guess if you're not walking on the surface of Mars, it doesn't really matter which way north is. And see, Saturn is the god of limitations. It's the god of the harvest. It's the god, it's like the mean dad that says, no, you can't go play outside after dark. And in some extreme forms, it's the god of sacrificing the future for the present. Right? What's the saying? Emptier than a wallet the Monday after payday? Yeah, Saturday. Saturn's Day, when we blow all of our seed corn trying to have fun, eating the children of the future. And it gets a bad rep right now because, as I said, we are ruled by bankers. There's a blogger goes by the name Neo-Feudal Review. I linked him down below because I knew I was going to be mentioning this guy this week. And he had a great org chart of, the International Bank of Settlements. That is at the top. And then way down here, you get nation states. And then you get the people, us peasants at the very bottom. So yes, the top several levels are all complete Saturn worshipping banker, rules, harvesting, exploitation. We are just bees having our louche and honey stolen from us. And it's kind of out of control. Okay? It's not that bankers don't have a place. It's not that limits don't have a place. It's not that Saturn isn't due the honors due to Saturn. But lately, it's like every day is Saturday. Blow all your money and then go be a slave. And believe me, we are all slaves. I've got a car payment, for example. So Saturn can get a bad rep. It's not necessarily, Molochian baby sacrifice. Saturn doesn't always eat his children. But when you get way too much Saturn energy, yeah, you do get that problem. So that's Saturn. Saturn is the god. Think of him as the god of limits for this purpose. The god of strict rules. The other planet is Uranus. Uranus is the dreamer, the idealist. And so when you get Saturn and Uranus together, it's saying that we need a new ideology. We're going to be operating under a different conception. Like this is, like, when does the age of Aquarius start? Is it 2030, 2130? It's the fuzzy edges on these things. But I dare say that this could be seen, if not the start of the age of Aquarius, it's the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Let's see. Oh, who's this? Earth Alchemy Holistic. I don't know what the rest is supposed to be, but brilliant. Saturn and Aries will teach people the consequences of their initial reactions and instincts. Yes, this is a comeuppance. That's what's happening. We are getting a grand comeuppance. So let's see here. Ideologically driven. If you want to be optimistic about this, you could say it's going to hold world leaders responsible. That's not what I'm vibing with, quite frankly. Well, let me ask you guys. I think you all know what new technology has the incredible potential to completely reshape the planet. AI and Palantir. AI and Palantir. We're also going to have Pluto in Aquarius during all this time. Pluto is the planet of mutability, of transformations. And Aquarius, I've been trying to think how to best explain Aquarius. And it's... So you've got 3 air signs. You've got Gemini, which is the chaotic, the twins, the sign of schizophrenia. It's the sign of uninhibited ideas. Just totally free-floating air sign. That's the mutable air sign. You've got Libra, which is the fixed, it's the cardinal air sign, which is hard, serious application of intellect, right? It's the judge's scale, the scales that weigh everything. And then you've got Aquarius, which is the fixed air sign, which you can kind of describe it as rational to a fault, or intellectual to a fault. one thing I've noticed about Aquarians is that they don't feel bad about spying on you. Like, they don't view it as spying. Okay, they don't spy on you to get blackmail necessarily, but they feel entitled to all the information. Gemini is going to be more lost in their ideas. Libra would be more systematic in not just judging information, but judging how they got the information, right? How trustworthy is this information? Do I have the right to this information? Whereas Aquarius just wants all the data. Does that sound like anything going on in the world today? Aquarius is idealistic, but also data heavy. And we have Pluto going into that, the planet of mutations. I think a lot of illusions are going to be dispelled. I need to mute that. So that's the conjunction, but on its own, we're not really anywhere yet. Like, what does that even mean? Okay, I think you guys are getting the sense of where I'm going, but let's bring a few more things into it. So down below, I linked a video. It is Dr. Hell. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so my apologies, Bishop. But Dr. Holler, Bishop Holler, his 2025 tarot reading for the United States. And what's very interesting about it, so the whole thing, it's a very optimistic reading. Except for the very last card. Like, it's, oh god, these are like the worst readings you can get, where every card is upbeat aside from the last one, which is the Three of Hearts. Or sorry, the Three of Swords. Three of Hearts. If you don't know, the Three of Swords is three swords piercing a heart. It's heartbreak. Oh god, this is such an interesting reading. First two cards for America are the Fool and the Three of Wands, which is Three of Wands is a man looking over the ocean, watching his fleets going out or his fleets coming in. And that is such a perfect description of America. The earnest naivete of the Fool and the economic accomplishment of the Three of Wands. And, lots of other positive cards. And then the last one, Three of Swords, the broken heart. Now, this reading was taken back in, well, it says 9 months ago, so what's that, February? And I dare say that broken heart looks a lot like Charlie Kirk's death, doesn't it? I was genuinely surprised by how affected I was by that. And how affected everybody was. I'm not typically that affected by, people die every single day. If I don't know them, I don't usually get worked up about it. But for some reason, Charlie Kirk's death really bothered me. Like, it was a broken heart moment. So that could be what Dr. Holler's, weird Dutch name. That could have been Charlie Kirk. Or could be something else. Could be something else really bad is in the pipeline. I'll tell you one thing that's really bad in the pipeline. Unpopular opinion time, folks. Like, don't get me wrong. I am grateful to Donald Trump for getting my YouTube channel reinstated. I owe him for that. I appreciate that. But it sure is mysterious how all those criminal charges against him just dropped. Now, I know, I mentioned this to a boomer, and this guy lost his shit with me. He started ranting and raving about how Donald Trump's innocent and the Democrats are all criminals. I'm like, yeah, I agree. Since when has an innocent man ever been an impediment to a district attorney with a hard-on for justice? Since when does the court give a shit if you're innocent? They don't just drop charges like that, unless they're backroom deals. So my assessment is that politics is fake. People talk about the moon landing being fake, but they think politics is real. It's not. It's orchestrated. It's well choreographed. I mean, here's the thing. All of us get into these echo chambers, right? The whole online influencer space is nothing but manufactured echo chambers. And yes, I am aware of the irony of me saying that. Each of us getting herded into these rooms where we only see people that believe the same things as us, and so we wind up with a completely distorted view of the world. You know, I make a point of watching Short Fat Otaku just so I can hear what the idiot side of the aisle thinks. And it's amazing. He actually thinks that January 20th? Whatever. He thinks that was an insurrection. It's mind-boggling. Like, the information silos are very real. What they started doing with subcultures in marketing, 50 years ago, cramming each of us into a subculture where we're easier to market to for our demographic. They started doing that with political opinions now. It's all fake. It's all manufactured. And these midterms, they're going blue, man. They're going Democrat. So much of the stuff Trump has been doing, it's been so flagrant. Like, okay, and again, I'm stealing this from neo-feudalism. Although I think I've said very similar things. Yeah, I've said you don't need a border wall. What you need to do is actually deport the people that you arrest. You don't need to build a new wall. You just need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. But instead of that, he built the wall the first time. Part of it. And this time we've got this fantastic reality show going on live in our streets. Turning places into PvP zones. And what, a million illegals have been deported or something? Well, 20 million came in under Biden. So that's only another 19 million to go to get back to 2016 levels. Or 2020 levels. Meanwhile, the kinetic nature of how they're doing it is creating a blue backlash. Right? This is why I listen to Short Fat Otaku. He argues that Mondami, or whatever that foreigner's name is, in New York City, that guy got elected not because people love him and communism, so much as people are upset with Donald Trump. Like, there's a lot of sound and fury, which, if you're pro-Trump, is very entertaining. If you're anti-Trump, well, it motivates you to do something about it. But the sound of fury does not accomplish much. So there's going to be a blue wave come November. I am fairly confident of that. If you're a better man, I'd put money on that. Not that it matters. The whole thing's a controlled op. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this. You guys seen the picture of Mondami sitting down with the Brazilians, as Sam Hyde likes to say, sitting down with his Brazilian masters, putting on a little hat and doing what they told him? Yeah, new boss, just like the old boss. They're all bought and paid for. They are all controlled. So we talk about a rules-based ideological reset. Part of it, I think, is people realizing how. No, people realizing that's the wrong term. People don't realize anything. Okay, like 2/3 of the population can't hear their voice inside their head. All right, they're Hylics, they're NPCs. All right, at least they don't fling their turds all over the place. Right, that's about the most we can say for them. But the illusion of choice is becoming increasingly harder to maintain. Let me check some of these comments. Flagship, Patiosh. Yeah, COVID was the start. Yeah, that was they learned a lot from that. So did we. But they learned a lot. All right, so Blitzer Blazing Noah has a few of the quatrains from Nostradamus. He argues this one is Trump versus the deep state. The present time, together with the past, will be judged by a great man of Jupiter, a great joker. The world will tire of him too late, disloyal by the clerical jurors. Yeah, that sounds a lot like Trump. I mean, the guy absolutely worships Jupiter. Or possibly Apollo, but no, he is more of a Jupiter clown figure. Ha! AI drone warfare, no operator needed. Oh, and they hunt you in coordinated packs. Yeah, we could build that technology. I really hope they don't. At least it'll only kill all life on this planet. Century 2, Quatrain 73, Iraq, 2003. From the shore of Lake Banac, allegedly Lake Garda, Italy, to Lake Fucino, taken from Lehman, Geneva, to the port of Orguillon, born of three arms, it predicts a warlike image. Through three kingdoms to the great Endymion. All right, I'm going to have to stay on agnostic on that one. That's the thing. So many of these Nostradamus quatrains are really hard to interpret, but then others are disturbingly prescient. Dev cries about January 6th. Well, just like January 6th was what, like 50, 100 people being disorderly while being escorted by the police. The cops were escorting them. The cops opened up the barriers and invited them in. It wasn't an insurrection. You don't do a modern insurrection. Is you arrange for the Green Berets to arrest everybody in the government and put their families in detention. Doesn't matter if you take a building, okay? It's not 1400 anymore. I'm not looking forward to February 20th. I'm in so much trouble. Ultimate Edgelord says, do you pay attention to chats at all? I do. New viewer here. We agree on quite a lot of things. I find it to be quite refreshing among contemporary discourse. Yeah, man, fire me a message on Twitter, on X. Down below the video, you should see my link tree, and that should have most of the stuff on it. I had a YouTube channel for what? 10 years? No, longer than that. I think 2012. Anyway, I had a YouTube channel for a really long time before I got banned during the Biden administration. Yes, it is two wings of the same bird. This is how intelligence services work, okay? If you're going to have... Oh, wait. Better way to put this. There's a great little comic that's got... It's like a Wojak or it's a Pepe comic something. And it's got the one... It's got the... Yeah, I think it's a Wojak. It's got the one Wojak wearing the tinfoil hat. Talking about Building 7 collapsing. Talking about the Tuskegee experiments. And then the FBI notices that, and they send out another guy screaming about flat Earth and et cetera, to discredit the first guy. If you are trying to cover something up, you also want to control the people that notice that's being covered up. You know, I'm not going to make this accusation specifically because it will sound like sour grapes. But there is a content creator out there that I'm pretty sure you've all heard of that I strongly suspect was based upon me. It was me, but more one-dimensional. More hates women, more etc. Because of course, when I first started, it was... You know, feminism's been tearing our society apart for decades now. That was one of my major focuses, one of the big things I talked about. Back in 2012, it was still really edgy and dangerous to talk about how toxic feminism was. Less of a focus these days because it's, you know, everybody agrees now, so there's no reason to talk about that, typically. So, yeah, most of the opinion makers out there most of them, consciously or not, are controlled. Actually, I'll tell you up front my conspiracy theory about Charlie Kirk. I think Charlie Kirk got selected. He didn't build that business on his own. Okay? Nobody, no 18-year-old builds a massive political lobby with millions of dollars by themselves. Not to say that he didn't work really hard. And this isn't to claim that he was a fake person. I don't think he was. He probably believed that he did it all on his own. But my suspicion is that he was selected to be just another one of the, like the left-right ratchet effect. The left advances things, the right pulls it back a little bit, but then establishes as solid. On and on and on. And so Cthulhu always swims left. Although I would add, not because the powers that be believe in progress. It's because progress is the most effective way to enslave us. It's, what's that, the island in Pinocchio? The island of misfit boys or whatever it is, where they all smoke cigars and drink and play pool until they turn into jackasses and get locked in boxes. Yeah. That's what progressivism is for. The people pushing it don't actually believe in it. It's just that pleasure addicts are much easier to enslave than established families that own their own property. So sorry, where was I going with that? Right, so I believe Charlie Kirk, he was selected to be just another neocon shill. Another, our greatest ally shill. You know, a new voice for the young, an edgier, cooler version of Christianity for the young. But, you know, just more of the same, just, you know, it's new boss just like the old boss. They just changed the branding a little bit. He showed up, he was good at what he did, and his beliefs were inoffensive to the powers that be when he started. And that's how it became such a large organization. And then right before things happened, he started to go off the reservation. So my suspicion, it wasn't the guy, it wasn't the kid that didn't have a rifle with him during his arrival or his departure, just a small backpack. It wasn't that guy that shot him. I think it's the people that know how to put bombs in pagers. Because he, without even realizing it, he was an owned man from day one. And he was designed for containment. It's all containment. Because there's this great illusion being cast upon us that we get to choose our leaders, that we voted for this. Both sides are controlled, but for some reason they want our louche. They want our attention. It's very strange. And so that right there, I think that illusion that we have any say in our government, that I think is coming to an end. That is what February 20th is going to be about. Let's see these comments. The 8046 comments are particularly disturbing because it ties in with the asteroid hitting Earth on March 16th, 2880. Well, I'll be dead by then. I don't care. Charlie Kirk was killed because he's becoming self-aware like Skynet. Pretty much. Pretty much. That's my operating hypothesis. Cameron Harris says the same thing. Yeah, a naive, moderate conservative youth who got a bunch of money thrown at him to support his organization. Not that he didn't deserve it, too. Okay, like he was very good at what he did. I want to be clear, and he wasn't a fake person. But I'm saying, here's what I'm saying. If you're a GATE kid, part of the GATE program, like I've got a few weird memories of that. I remember the hearing test. I remember doing personality tests. They personality tested all of us back in high school. This is back in the 80s and 90s. They don't have to anymore. Facebook does that now. Like, have you ever done one of those tests, like, which Power Ranger are you? And you answer, like, 10 questions. You're the Green Power Ranger. That is Myers-Briggs personality analysis right there. Or possibly Ocean, Big Five. Doesn't matter which one. They've got you pegged. They know what your triggers are. They know how ornery you are. And I'm pretty high up on the disagreeable level. I do not go along to get along. I'm the sort of guy that actually, would be a whistleblower, even though it destroys my life. And I know that because there have been times I've done that. Being a whistleblower sucks. You don't even feel like a hero. You just feel like a principled idiot. Standing up for something that nobody else cares about just because it's the right thing. But yeah, they got me pegged on that. They know what I am. They know, like, what I do if they tried to blackmail me. Tell them to fly a fucking kite. Whereas Charlie Kirk got measured as a bit more compliant. He's a nice guy. He goes along to get along. But yeah, he started waking up. Started becoming a problem. Blotto points out, attention has always been the bedrock of economics. It's the bedrock of reality when you get right down to it. Lots of trees falling in the woods with nobody to hear them, man. It's a goddamn tragedy. Blitzer blazing Noah. My personality is crap. Loosh. Okay, so loosh is a new agey term. It just means attention. It means negative emotions or positive emotions. Doesn't matter. They just need you to feel something. Right? This is why the crazy girl will give you amazing sex when the relationship starts out. She just needs your loosh. She needs your etheric energy. And the moment that you're tired, she starts acting up to provoke negative. It's like Facebook. Facebook does not care whether you like what you see or you dislike what you see. It only cares that you engage with what you see. Oh, geez. Yeah. Channel 4. Yeah. Let's not talk about the Austrian painter. I heard about that. It's like, good Lord. This endless ritual, like the 2-minute hate against Charlie Chaplin and his mustache is just like, good Lord. It was 80 years ago. Can we drop it already? Liminal Space says, don't you think it's strange that they let you back on YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, I do. The reason they did was because of Donald Trump. A lot of people have been reinstated. But you know who hasn't is Owen Benjamin. And listen, Owen Benjamin can get pretty far out there on a lot of stuff. He's got a propensity to talk about stuff when he doesn't know anything about it whatsoever. I try and really limit, I try not to have opinions on things that I don't know anything about. I mean, even with this, like, you can probably tell I've been digging pretty deep into astrology. Like, this freaking book has 600 pages, okay? And yet I'm really tentative about this. So he has some bad takes, absolutely. But he's a very genuine person. He is not part of any containment system. He is not working for any agenda. And I think the reason that I've been allowed back with everybody else is that I am not a threat. To put it simply. I hope that I am. But well, actually, this is a great transition. What does it mean to be a threat to the current system? What can we do about the current system? Well, Master Yeager, I'm sorry you feel that way. I assume you're talking about me, but that's fine. Yes, I do follow Professor Dutton. I like that guy. He's got that. I recognize his autistic flamboyance. I have a lot of that too. So I quite like him. I quite like that guy. But Master Yeager, if you want to offer some disagreement with me, I'll entertain it. But yeah, it's a great transition point. What does it mean to be a threat to the system when they control both sides? When the whole discourse is manufactured. it's like the Overton window can move back and forth a little bit, but it's always part of, there's always an agenda behind it. For example, discussing the Brazilians is now a little bit more acceptable than it used to be. Well, I think that's because they want them to move back to Brazil as part of, I mean, they've slaughtered the Red Bull. That happened a few months ago. And they're going to be rebuilding the temple for 2030. You know, you don't have to believe in prophecy. I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure the book of Revelations already happened. Was Emperor Nero was the beast, 666. Both Nero and his full name in numerology translate to 666. So that was Nero. The beast with the toes of clay and hands of iron, that was Rome. And Roma delenda est. No, Roma deledarum est. Not it must be destroyed, it has been destroyed. Apparently I missed a comment. Ultimate Edgelord, could you repost the comment, please? I don't see it. So yeah, that's I think Revelations happened already. I mean, I could be wrong, but like, hey, if Jesus Christ comes back, woohoo, let's do it, baby. War, great. I'm just not expecting it. Pretty sure all of that already happened. So I don't place any spiritual significance in Brazil rebuilding their temple. But they do. Something doesn't have to be real if enough people believe in it for it to kill you. Although I will say, right, the Antichrist. I will say that AI could very well be that Antichrist. One of the things that neo-feudal liberalism points out, who I linked him below, increasingly, all of this, it's about alienating ourselves from ourselves. So you guys know the experience of watching a media influencer and getting like really worked up and angry and we need to do something. Wait. We is a really dangerous word, because what is we? If you try and go to war for we, you are, before you even get to the front lines, you're going to fall over from all the knives in your back. I know from personal experience. There is no we. We don't need to, we can't do anything. They do things. And then we are strapped down in Plato's cave watching the shadows on the wall. And imagining that when we clap our hands, that's bringing Tinkerbell back to life. For those of you that aren't an ancient old man like me, there was a stage play. Well, it was a TV show, but it was all done on stage because this was like the 1950s in Britain, of Peter Pan, where they implored the children in the audience to clap their hands so that Tinkerbell wouldn't die. So, sorry, getting off topic. So you watch the influencer, And the influencer shows you something that really harvests a lot of your loosh. You get really worked up about this. I mean, like, F those people over there. Those people aren't treating we the way that they ought to. You get really worked up and you want to angry post about it. You want to like, comment, and subscribe and share on the twatters there with some angry comments that gets put right into the database in your file. You see, the gender war is a great example for this. Most of what the red pill, like the new red pill, it's skin suited for the most part. I mean, like there's still guys making red pill content from the old days that I like. I'm not attacking anybody, but so much of the new stuff, the stats aren't real. I'll give you one example of one of the stats that's promulgated that is a lie, and it alienates you from yourself, from your anima, and from women. It's the statistics on number of previous partners and marriage stability, which supposedly shows that if she's not a virgin when you marry, then she's going to cheat on you and leave you. That's BS. What you're seeing with that statistic, there's basically three groups of people. There's the people that are raised in religious communities where chastity is really emphasized, and they stay virgins until they get married. And then they stay married, partly because of the strong community. But it's not the sex. It's the religion that helps keep them together. Then you've got a small group of people that just keep getting divorced and remarried again and again and again and again. The boomers are particularly bad for this. And that group right there totally throws off the stats. You also presumably have people that are just anti-monogamous who get married and divorced in there. And then you have the normal people in the middle. So the stat is meant to enrage you, to make you hate women, to think that marriage is freaking terrible. And yeah, there's a huge problem with the divorce law being... The divorce laws are there to help the lawyers and the social workers and the judges have jobs. They're not there to help men and women. But they hurt men more than they hurt women, typically. That's true. You do have to be careful about who you marry. But the partner count is not the giant red flag that's made out to be. It's a false statistic that's designed to enrage you and alienate you from yourself. It's getting you to place yourself into a subculture. Right? 50 years ago, the subcultures were stay-at-home moms, surfer dude, jazz musician. These days, most of them are about hating some other group. And when you hate another group, you are inflating your shadow. So the shadow, the Jungian concept of the shadow, it's a very bizarre sort of concept. Using vision as a metaphor can be useful because you've got things that you can see, and then you've got things that are too dark for you to see, but you still know those are the known unknowns. You know you can't see that because it's all in shadow. And then you've got all the area outside of your field of vision, which has no color. It's not like you've got a cone of vision and then black surrounding you. You don't have anything behind your head that you see. And the psychological shadow is like that. Everything that you are, everything that you believe in, everything that you perceive. Because remember, your perception of reality is a hologram manufactured by your own mind. And I don't just mean your visual field is a hologram manufactured in your own mind. I mean, when you look at other people and you see motives, those are motives that exist within you. Actually, I got a funny story for you that kind of illustrates what I'm talking about here. So the other morning, I was on a job site up in the Arctic Circle at a camp, and the one morning, I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm kind of like stumbling into the cafeteria to get my coffee, and there's this one guy who he's a solid, friendly guy, but he's got a mean-looking face. And he'd just woken up too. And we kind of made eye contact, and neither of us were smiling because we hadn't had coffee. But I looked at his mean freaking face. I'm like, oh man, is that guy angry at me for something? What if everybody's angry at me? And I started thinking, Jesus, this is what it's like being a paranoid schizophrenic? Right? Where it's like, really, he just hadn't had coffee. But I started getting all paranoid because it's like his mean face triggered like, oh, he's gonna, like, I broke a protocol and I did something bad. And I think if you're a paranoid schizophrenic, that's kind of what happens to you, where everybody around you suddenly has these mean faces, which makes you think that you did something wrong and they're angry at you. Which then got me thinking about how much our early childhood, our interactions with our parents in particular, influences, like your interactions with your father will affect as a man, it will affect your engagement with authority figures later in life, and your relationship with your mother will affect your relationship with women later in your life. And so you're creating this hologrammatic reality in your own mind of other people. You are simulating these people, but you're building the simulation out of pieces from your childhood. So when you start hating a group of people, what you're doing is you're taking elements of yourself that you've submerged in the shadow, and you take that stuff from behind your field and you put that in them. And by putting those pieces of yourself into the other, it's now that much harder for you to know thyself. Let me check the comments quickly here. Ultimate Edgelord. So I see you saying, please address my previous comment. Oh, how can you reach me? Is that what you were asking? Send me a message on X. X.com/Aurini, Aurini. Let's see. David in the Alien prequel is clearly an AI Antichrist figure. Those two films were full of NWO signaling, such as the engineers being the Anunnaki. I didn't see the second one. I tried to. God, those movies were terrible. Like, I agree that there's a diamond in the rough aspect to them, but The rough is just too much for me. Says, I also noticed that the opening scene of Star Trek Into Darkness was set on Nibiru, with Kirk disobeying the Prime Directive to save the Anunnaki from extinction and getting demoted from his command. Earth Alchemy says, first man I've heard talk about the anima and the red pill. You know what? That's a fantastic point. I don't think other people do discuss the anima, but very few people talk about in conjunction with the red pill. I haven't heard that before. You are correct. And so the anima animus is within ourselves. We have a conception of the other that we connect with, right? The anima for men, being the female term, it's the animus for women. And a fantastic example of animus possession was that interview / argument between Jordan Peterson and I think it was Kathy Newman. So Kathy Newman, and this is something you've seen a lot of feminists. They've conceived of masculinity, of their animus, as being bossy and controlling. And it's bossy and controlling. Those are not virtues. Being a nice guy is not a virtue. That's anima possession. So if we take the masculine virtues, would be something like rational, taciturn, like unaffected, like you don't let emotion control you, and you're assertive. You say like it's leadership, not abrasiveness, not coldness, but like good masculine leadership, being a solid guy. That's positive masculinity. Positive femininity is being sensitive, is being nurturing, etc., right? Not submissive is a complex word. Don't want to get into that one. Doesn't mean being a doormat, though. Being emotional doesn't mean being irrational. It means being attentive and sensitive to the needs of others. Both of these are like the good man and the good woman. So the good woman, let's say the feminist woman who has suppressed her animus, her natural complement of the good man, is going to define masculinity as the opposite of feminine virtue. So the opposite of being emotionally sensitive is being emotionally cold. The opposite of being nurturing and supportive is being demanding and controlling. Similarly, on the male side, the opposite of being heroic, of being emotionally disciplined, is emotionally uncontrolled. The opposite of being assertive is being a nice guy. And so there's this tendency amongst both feminists and the red pill. Like the red pill initially started out as a rejection of feminism, but be careful who you go to war with. War is how societies reproduce. And in the war between the red pill and feminism, the red pill became feminism. It became anima possession. It's men trying to be nice guys to get laid. Nice does not work. Women don't want nice, they want assertive. They don't. Psychomath has his Batman to Democrat scale. They don't want a Democrat, they want Batman. And so they rage at women as if they're a demographic. But really what they're raging at is their own anima, which is out of whack because they're suppressing it. And because they're not being the man that they should be. You become what you resist. And that's what's happened to the red pill. Let's see. Cameron Harris. I feel that way at work quite a bit. Usually the person is frustrated about something that has nothing to do with you. I don't know if you were saying, was that when I was talking about the boomer that really lost his head when I said it was suspicious they dropped charges against Trump? I never said Trump was guilty. Projection, yeah. And projection is what happens when you don't know yourself. The line between good and evil cuts through the heart of every man, and who could bear to part with a piece of his own heart? This is part of what we're getting into as we transition into the age of Aquarius. So the age of Pisces, the age of Christ and Antichrist, it was the Grand Inquisitor in The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. If you haven't read it, look up The Grand Inquisitor. It's a fantastic argument between Christ and Torquemada, the leader of the Spanish Inquisition. At least I think it's Torquemada. It's been a long time since I read it. And Torquemada, basically Christ comes back. And Torquemada's like, what the hell are you doing here? Listen, what you said, all fine and good. All fine and dandy. But have you met people? They're idiots. We built them a very nice, safe cage to live in. It's very well adorned. They're very comfy. And we make sure they don't get into trouble. You're a madman. You want to liberate these animals. The age of Pisces took all of these evil energies that are part of us, that are part of each of us, and it shoved them down into the underworld. And by doing that, people were very, very safe. But the age of Pisces is over, and we can no longer pretend that these energies aren't within all of us. You know, I've mentioned before that book, I think it's called A Million Little Secrets. I haven't read it. I've been meaning to get it, but it's what anonymized Google search inquiries reveal about us. For instance, 50 years ago, we could pretend that hybristophilia, which is the female love of criminals, we could pretend that was a mental disorder. These days, I think we all realize that all women, to some degree or another, love killers. It's really, really high, and those chicks are dangerous. But it's never at zero. The omni-surveillance, because it's not just them surveilling us, is it? It's us surveilling each other. It's us constantly watching each other and documenting each other. The difference between this live stream and a conversation, for instance. You would have, what's the goddess of memory called? Oh, I should know this. But the goddess of memory would soften all the sharp edges over time. She'd she'd slowly wash away the bad things that happened to you and add a romantic glow to all the good things that happened to you. And so the memory of a conversation or listening to a lecture, I guess, by me would be softened and idealized over time. Instead, here we have this brutal, hard recording that is what it is and can be endlessly dissected. So it's not just them surveilling us, it's us surveilling each other with perfect eidetic memory, seeing all the flaws, all the nuances, preventing us from having this idealized notion of who we are. Like, just, Pornhub tells you what the most popular categories are. We can't pretend that that isn't part of human nature anymore. And so the age of Aquarius is no longer about separating the two fish. It's the water bearer, the one that carries the water that both fish swim in. Acknowledging this evil in our own hearts. And hopefully transmuting it into deeper understanding. Into wholeness. Memo sign. Thank you, liminal space. I thought it was something like that. So I think these are some of the illusions that are being shattered on February 20th. Not a great awakening, okay? The Great Awakening already happened. And 2/3 of the population are still asleep. Listen, man, Hylics are going to Hylic. It is what it is. The Gnostics were not wrong about the Hylics. Why aren't you more drunk? Because I have a drinking problem. This just gets me to normal. So yes, the breaking you into groups and getting you to hate the other group, which seems to be the foundation of domestic policy these days. Let's be frank, the Biden administration didn't bring in 20 million illegals because they support the Dreamers. They did it to hurt Americans, but also to get Americans to hate the illegals. It's the same thing right now in Canada with the Indians. Actually, it's pretty darn convenient that everybody in Canada is angry at the Indians right now, as opposed to being angry at the doctors that shoved the booster on all of us. Awfully convenient. It's great to have people worked up about this problem as opposed to seeing the bigger picture, and also alienating themselves in the process. And finally, the ultimate alienation, this is going back to what Blaze and Noah said quite some time ago about the Antichrist. I mean, I don't know about the Antichrist per se, but AI will happily be Narcissus's mirror for you. And there's a lot of people falling into that. Staring into the mirror and never knowing themselves. I've been using the AI for interpreting the signs I see in the skies. I get its take on it. I get my take first, then I get the AI's take, because it's often got a lot of interesting stuff that it notices. However, we've got a major problem right now which is it's actually just as prevalent in the New Age community. So the New Age community is primarily composed of Pleiadian loosh harvesters. Oh, there's a YouTube channel, Hyperborean Knowledge. It's got a video, I got loosh harvested by a Pleiadian. And it's a fascinating video. He's just, and I've been loosh harvested by these people, right? These New Agey people that will just upright tell you, oh yes, I'm actually a Pleiadian. I'm just incarnating on Earth for this instantiation. With like just dead seriousness, they'll tell you that. And these people inevitably have tons of money, even though they don't have jobs. And this is these psychic parasites are what the ruling class is made up of. This is what the influencers are. People that can just tell you the most insane thing with perfect faith in it, and then without a hint of guilt demand your money, which is the difference between me and them. I know I still have a Patreon, but I'm thinking of shutting it down. Plus I work for a living. I work very hard. Don't like taking money from people. Makes me feel like an e-beggar. But I'm not a shameless Pleiadian. And so these Pleiadians, these New Agers, by the way, I don't think they actually come from the Pleiades. I could be wrong about that, but maybe there are aliens in the Pleiades. I don't frickin' know. But I know when I see that you know, you got like the vacant gaze of the psychopath, where there's like this black primal predatory nature to them. These people have, it's their eyes are full of light, but they're also dead. They're very blank, but it's like a cold medical light that could be mistaken for the divine. And they love to twist everything into positive vibes. Because if everything is positive vibes, then you never learn anything. Most of your spiritual growth is going to come from pain. It's going to come from you developing better handling strategies, better ways of responding to the world, better ways of managing yourself while you are in pain. These people sell Eat, Pray, Love. Eat, Pray, Love is abandon your family, use credit cards to afford a vacation to some spiritual destination where you just have a whole bunch of casual sex with randos and call it love. Mortgage your future to enjoy the present and call that spirituality. You don't self-improve when you're spending money on credit cards. You self-improve when you're cold, wet, tired, and hungry, and you still got another 10 kilometers to go. So these Pleiadians, part of what they're doing is divorcing you from yourself by not letting you suffer. When you get the Three of Swords, you do a card reading on how is this relationship gonna go. And oh, look, it's this card says great sex, and this card says we're going to go on adventures and long-term effect. Three of Swords. She's going to break your heart, man. It's going to end in tragedy. The Pleiadian will take that and rationalize it not as doom, but as a challenge to overcome. Let's see. Let's catch up with some of these comments. He probably recognized you and wanted a hug. Yeah, I said that to the foreman during the last safety meeting I had. It's like, any problems? Anything else anybody needs to ask? I said, well, wouldn't mind a hug. Oh, Earth Alchemy said, wait, I gotta go back. Okay, it's called projection. Yes. Blitzer Blazing Noah says, I never really knew my father. Stepfather was away most of the time, working in Saudi Arabia. Mother is physically and psychologically abusive. I spent most of my childhood with my ill Nana. Raising yourself. See, I'm not going to talk about my childhood because both my parents are still alive. And, I'm alive. So, yes, they made mistakes. Even, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Actually, no, I'll tell you a formative memory that I have. I've told this story before. We were at some outdoor adventure thing for kids, out in the woods, looking at beetles and trees and whatever. And for some damn reason, back in the 90s, like, I guess they, those buttons with the pin, like it's a little button and you stick it to your shirt? I guess the machines for making these became really common. And so everybody started giving you buttons all the time. And right before we were leaving, I was kind of exploring a little creek. And I put the buttons down on a rock as I was looking for it. And then my parents said, it's time to go. So I got up, got into the car, and kind of 20 minutes down the road. Oh, geez. I forgot the buttons. The buttons that I don't want. I don't give a damn about these things, but the adults keep giving us buttons like they're important somehow. So clearly the adults want me. These are valuable things. The adults seem to care about them. I don't see the point, but whatever. And I realized I forgot the damn buttons that are of such great import. I tell this, and my father exhaustedly says, oh, we can't turn it because it's 40 minutes. It's like 20 minutes down the road isn't a lot, but 40 minutes no. Oh no, I guess they're going to be left behind. And this is after my parents, they took their kids out to the woods. We did a thing. Like, that is top-notch parenting. And yet I have a formative memory of being a complete failure and disappointment to my parents because I lost the precious buttons. So it doesn't matter how good parents are. There are always going to be failures. And yeah, there's part of our challenge as adults is finding these negative lessons. Like I still catch myself getting, like, sometimes when I get reproached by authority, it really upsets me. Right? I get really, even though it's not actually a big deal. The authority figure is not actually, it's like, hey, don't do it that way. Just do it this way instead. And I'll feel just mortified. It will really get to me. And that's one of those imprinted patterns from early childhood that we all need to work on, or at least understand so we can put in context. To say, like, I'm feeling like my boss is super angry at me right now, but that's because I kind of overreact to this. He's probably not actually angry at me. Ferry driver helped red pill me long ago. Glad to hear it, brother. How drunk are you? Not really drunk. Starting to sober up finally. Hair of the dog. Ultimate Edgelord says, I'm already familiar with the anima and animus, as well as the other terminologies utilized. Is the only way to have my question answered to reach you on X? Ultimate Edgelord, I don't see your question. I don't know. Wait. Oh my God, it's on top chat, not live chat. It wasn't showing me your question. All right, let me see if I can find Ultimate Edgelord's question. I think I found it. May you address the connection between the Charlie Kirk assassination, Mandami being an insistent Islamist apologists, and the current and many other administrations being a global elitist payoff? I'm not quite sure how to answer that. But no, I wasn't ignoring you. I just literally didn't see it until now. So here's my paradigm of how I think this world acts. And it's based off stuff like, back when I was in the army, we got to fight them over here so they don't terrorize us right here. Something like that. That was the excuse. We're going to go fight the terrorists over in Afghanistan so that they don't terrorize us here. And then we invited all of them over here. That's kind of weird. Almost as if the public script is complete BS. It's like one of those old soap operas. These soap operas would be on television for 10, 20, 30 years, with new characters being added, old characters leaving. Modern drama. Most of it, Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, well, not Game of Thrones, but most of the modern drama is pre-planned, right? They've already got like a beginning, middle, of end of how the story's going to go. They've got a rough sketch of the whole thing. But the soap operas, you'd have new actors come on. Sometimes an actor would die unexpectedly. They didn't have a plan. They just had drama. And, I never watched any of these, obviously, but I'll bet you if you watched them, there were tons of plot holes, plot threads that just got dropped. And if you tried to watch it as a coherent whole, it wouldn't make any sense. And if you pointed that out to a fan, they'd say, yeah, of course not, idiot. But if you watch global politics, if you pay attention over time, you go watch The Beast. The Beast is a fantastic war movie, and it's hilarious because it's about the Russians in Afghanistan, and the Mujahideen are the good guys. The terrorists we were fighting 20 years ago are the good guys. And so you see these same characters, Osama bin Laden used to be the best friend of America. Then he became the worst enemy of America. It's like, wait, I remember that guy. Wasn't he a good guy last season? It's constructed drama. I mean, the bodies are real most of the time. The blood and the suffering is real, but the narrative is manufactured. It's manufactured out of true pieces, but it is manufactured. The paradigm behind all of it is central banking. It is lending money at compound interest. It is every 10 to 15 years, the bottom completely falls out of the market. So you thought you were getting ahead? Housing collapse. Burst the bubble. Finally starting to recover from that. COVID flattens everything. And each time this happens, the people that have access to the money creation gain a little bit more ownership over the public. So if you went back 100 years, maybe they owned, you could say that they 10% owned the population. And now it's well over 50%, I'd say. Depending on how you, I don't know how you'd measure it exactly. But, 200 years ago, there's a series I saw on the Hatfields and McCoys. which was, there's these two families in the United States that just, one guy got murdered, and then they murdered another guy, and then another guy got murdered. It just turned into these two clans at war with each other. I watched this TV series on it. I don't know how accurate it was, but towards the end of it, one of the family members said, "You know what? This bloodletting's never going to end. I'm going to jump on my horse and go to California." And you could do that back then. These days, you can't do it without 3 pieces of ID, insurance on your car, a forwarding address. You need to update your health insurance, on and on and on and on. So yeah, we're far, far less free than we were back then. And it's from the people that manufacture the tokens of money, which is just the craziest form of magic, if you think about it. Like, what is money? It's a metered out assessment of useful human labor, crystallized into a physical form that you can hold in your hand or put on a ledger. It can be a piece of paper, or you can make the paper disappear and turn it into some digits on a spreadsheet. This is seriously powerful magic. And the people in charge of it are completely independent, and they make it up to their heart's content. And they've got most of the population convinced that the only way for us to exist is for a group of private individuals to constantly manufacture new tokens of utility. It's fucking insane. But, well, I suppose this is why it is so important to keep us focused on left versus right, focused on politics. I don't care who you vote for as long as you vote. Because if you stop voting, you might start paying attention to the fact that there's a bunch of guys in a room over there running a printing machine that says they get to have slaves and we have to pay taxes. So, well, I think that's the connection. It's to keep us distracted. Mondami, listen, if I were a typical right-winger, and even 5 years ago, I probably would have predicted, like, it's fun to say that, New York is going to get what it deserves for electing him. However, this communist is going to completely destroy New York City. And New York City is never going to recover from this any more than Detroit is going to recover from what happened to it. That's what I would have said 5 years ago. Today, Mondami works for the exact same banking interests that everybody else works for. His communism and his Islamic apologias are a snow job. This is a distraction. He is going to implement policies that benefit the large corporations that own lots of property. And it's going to harm small property owners, independent property owners, be they landlords or homeowners. You are going to see more and more of BlackRock taking over the New York housing market. That big, beautiful bill? 90% of it was about AI surveillance. 10% of it was a whole bunch of fake reforms. Like, yeah, they're going to cut taxes for the middle class, but they're going to do it in a way that creates massive inflation. So it comes out in the wash. Doesn't matter. But also tons of AI surveillance. It's sort of like becoming a popular YouTuber. If my goal was being popular, I would be edgy MAGA, right? Edgy MAGA is what I'd be. Because it's a lot easier to sell hope. Like, well, Donald Trump's going to save us. Oh no, those damn Democrats stopped him from saving us. That's an easier message. And I would do that. I could maybe get sponsors, right? Nobody wants to hear that politics is as fake as WWE. And even if once in a while, listen, I do think that the first time we got Trump elected, yes, that was meme magic. He didn't expect to get elected, and nobody knew what the hell to do about it. So yeah, we could throw wrenches in their plans every so often. But the election itself didn't really accomplish anything. Aside from really screwing them with the Country Harvest Music Festival shooting that was supposed to be their big gun grab, and COVID was jankier than they wanted. And there's also just a natural, any system that stops growing starts dying. A shark that stops moving, dies. And so these banking families, they've got a tiger by the tail and they can't let it go. The moment they let go, and the world realized what's been happening for the past 300 years, which I've heard February 20th compared to the 1700. So take that for what it is. This could be the big revelation about central banking. This could be their attempt to deploy social credit scores. And listen, they got away with social credit in China because that is the Chinese temperament. I love Chinese people. But they are very collectivist by nature. We aren't. I don't think it'll go over well here. Let's see, I'm going to try and catch up with these comments, and Ultimate Edgelord, if there's more, add some more below, if I didn't quite get to it. Geez, we're going an hour and a half already? This is a great live stream. I think it is, if you guys think it is. Let's see. I can't believe it was only showing me the top comments. Ridiculous. Well, I guess if you got tons of people commenting. I miss the Twitch days. Man, I was actually planning to quit, and then COVID happened. Or at least go on hiatus. Then COVID happened. I'm like, man, I got to keep people company while they're locked down at home. Anime possession, like watching too much Sailor Moon before puberty. Exactly. Evil is rising from where we tried to bury it. Jim Gordon to Bruce Wayne, The Dark Knight Rises. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of this stuff that I see that I'm not going to talk about it because it's too sensitive, and most people are in the, like, if I pointed out that they're repressing the evil, they'd accuse me of being the evil they're repressing. Hubris followed by nemesis. Let's see. Ooh, DS9 episode, The Reckoning. You're going to have to remind me of the plot of that one. Inter arma silent legaz. In times of war, the law is silent. Inter arma there's another word that there's a great DS9 episode about how intelligence services, like it's like a snake eating its own damn tail, man. When you start allowing people to keep secrets and be sneaky squirrels, it takes everything over. And it's inter arma silent leges something something. How they're basically the whole Alpha Quadrant in Star Trek is completely controlled by the intelligence services of all the different species. So intelligence agents from the Federation and the Klingon Empire and the Romulans and the Ferengi control their own governments. They're the ones actually in charge, not the governments. And that's kind of how our world works. The CIA and Mossad work together to control their respective governments. Let's see. Blazing Noah says, I've convinced myself that somehow the actress Nana Visitor is the birth mother of the Rainmaker. Okay, I have no idea what that's about. Flower Indian or Feather Indian. Yeah, the slop is like, eat your goy slop. Pay attention to the culture war. The latest thing happened. Give people the slop, or Roko's basilisk will get you. Is it just inter arma silent leges? Could have sworn there's a fifth word in there. But yeah, fantastic episode. Money is the leash, money is the illusion. Money is fake, but we all believe it's real. You know, there's this scene in The Last Unicorn where the unicorn gets captured by a traveling sideshow run by Mummy Fortuna. And Mummy Fortuna is an actual witch. One of the last actual witches. And she has this menagerie of mythical beasts in her wagons that she shows to the yokels. And every single one of them is fake. You know, the Minotaur is not a Minotaur, it's just an old toothless lion with a glamour cast upon it. Same thing, Midgard serpent's just a boa constrictor. But the unicorn, she gets a real unicorn, puts it in a cage. But for the people, for the yokels to believe it's a unicorn, she has to cast a glamour of a fake horn atop its head. Because you see, the yokels know that unicorns don't exist. Magic doesn't exist. They have to be tricked into believing it. Incidentally, prestidigitation is not just fake magic. It's actually foundational to magic itself. You can't do a magic trick, a real magic trick, if you don't do prestidigitation. When you do actual magic, people won't see it. You have to use pantomime. You have to use clouds of smoke to make people believe in actual magic. Why do you think they use incense at church? Nobody would believe in transubstantiation if it weren't for the incense and the music. You could kill a small child with that ice cube. Yeah, they froze together. So yes, this world that we live in is run by magic. The manufacturing of Babylonian work tokens is one of the most profound forms of magic. In fact, there was some isekai show that I saw. It's about I don't know, it's like a guy that's basically a paladin that was raised by 3 ghosts or something. Can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But one of the ghosts taught him the alchemy of finance. Oh wait, no, that's who wrote that book? Was it George Soros? The Alchemy of Finance? Yes, it's finance is magic. Most people think it's real. That's the damn problem. They cast such an effective spell. For some reason, you get a lamp with a green top over it, put it on your desk, and all of a sudden it's not magic anymore, it's just accounting. So you've got that. You've got the illusion of money. You've got the Triclops. Hey, glad to have you here. I love that name. You've got the fake culture war. The fake culture war that nobody ever wins, by the way. As I said at the start of the stream, there is going to be a blue wave in December for the midterm. That's what they call it, right? The midterm elections? I don't know. There's going to be a blue wave, though. Mondami is just the first. And 90% of what happens with these political parties is just optics. There is so much noise and fury with the big, beautiful bill about cutting people off Snap, about et cetera, et cetera. And, like, I haven't read the damn thing, okay? You haven't read the damn thing. We've only read other people's opinions on the damn thing. But the fact that the United States is going more and more in debt at an accelerating rate, okay? Like, the deficit keeps going like this. Means that any tax breaks for the middle class are going to be eaten up by inflation. And that for every victory where you find an illegal alien on Snap, or you find people like collecting 3 Snap benefits, for every victory against those people that are parasitizing the system, well, you're going to be shoving more and more people on the brink of poverty into poverty. More and more dependence upon the system. And again, 90% of the bill was actually about funding Palantir. Flagship says, I had to learn the hard way that the only way to find peace is to lead a lot of this madness behind. Yes. Yes. Which is what exactly what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I get pretty friends. One of my Facebook friends, whom I really like, posted something. I think it was in support of Mondami's socialist policies, and it's. I mean, basic economics is no, that's going to make everybody poorer. It really ground my gears, right? Like you should have a basic understanding of how economics works. But Mondami is not going to be a socialist. He's going to pretend to be a socialist. All of the newspapers are going to say he's a socialist. The left-wing newspapers are going to say he's a great socialist. The right wing will say he's a bad socialist. But what he's actually going to be is an ally to the bankers. He is going to be part of this ongoing process of them seizing more and more and more control. Do you know that game Vampire the Masquerade? It's basically a cult, by the way. I lost several friends to that game. But one of the interesting things about it is that every 5 years or so, they have to reset the game because power always it's a game where you pretend to be vampires controlling your city, and you engage in power plays against the other players. And power always concentrates into a permanent collective. And because they're undying vampires, everything gets locked at that point. And so they have to reset the game. Now, the good news is that we are not vampires. People, for now at least, eventually die, thank God. One of Saturn's gifts is that even the most evil and powerful man eventually dies. The series Altered Carbon is about the consequences of having an undying elite and what monsters they would all turn into. Great series, I recommend it. Very cyberpunky. Lots of dark cityscapes with neon and a cool dude in a trench coat with a gun. I love the crap out of it. Now, the difference, however, between most of us and the banking families is that they have plans and memories that last more than one generation. So, if you don't like how the world is being run, start working on multi-generational plans. Start instilling multi-generational consciousness in your children. Plant trees that your grandchildren will enjoy, and ensure that you plant ideas that allow your grandchildren to realize that you planted those trees for them. That our bloodlines are continuations of ourselves. You're creating a little mini-me. You're rebooting. You got halfway through the game and realize that you didn't quite optimize your build, so you restart the game with your new knowledge to do things properly. That's what having kids is. Focusing on the culture war is not going to make anything better. You're better off watching anime. At least your blood pressure will be a lot lower. The war is not meant to be won, only to preserve the structure of society. George Orwell taught us that. Exactly. In 1984, he made it a blunt physical war, but the culture war is so much better because we're still going to work and paying taxes instead of destroying stuff that they don't want destroyed. They only need occasional conflicts like Ukraine versus Russia, which is really it's Slav versus Slav. It's just another blood sacrifice. Blue waves happen in a place with no voter ID. Yeah, that is a problem, but keep in mind both parties work for the same people too. Guys, I don't want to say this. I don't want this to be true. But I see no reason to anticipate that all of these dusky foreigners that have been brought to our country and are getting our tax dollars, I see no indication that they're going to be gone anytime soon. Trump could get rid of 90% of the illegals if he just prosecuted businesses for hiring illegals. It would be really easy to get rid of all of them, and you wouldn't have the bad optics that comes with ICE raids. It's not doing that, though, so draw your own conclusions, I guess. The system will continue until it can't continue anymore. And no matter who we vote for, that's going to keep happening. So chill out. Don't be mad about it. Being mad about it ain't going to help anything. Just stresses you out. Not that our people are going anywhere. Yeah, we're having a winnowing effect. They're shaving off the people that are more Democrat than Batman. Our people 30 years from now are going to be so much tougher and more rugged than they are right now. We are in the crucible, and the impurities are being burned off. Hallelujah. Video games are cults. They kind of are. They kind of are. Collectivize the middle class into the working and underclass. Yeah, that is what they are doing. Socialists and communists owned by billionaire bourgeoisie. It's always a funny insight to reflect on. It's not new either. Look back to the rise of the Bolsheviks in Russia. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The rise of the Bolsheviks in Russia was controlled by the banking class in Britain. The whole World War I, that's what it was about. They controlled, the bankers controlled Western Europe. They didn't control the land powers of Germany and Russia. They controlled the sea powers of America and Great Britain. They didn't control America just yet. Jekyll Island was, what was that, 1920 or something, 1918? So after Great Britain fell in World War II, they happily transferred power to America because they controlled America by that point. Let's see. Mandami is an Islamist plant. Even if he's not, it's going to give Islamists the optimism to set up camp, start whatever nonsense they want. Yeah, that's... Islam is its own thing. They're being used as a cat's paw. But it's a cat's paw that's not going to go away. So we're going to have some Reconquistas in our future, probably. I see absolutely zero potential for, like, listen, the Amish and the Catholics can get along, right? Don't see eye to eye on everything, but they can get along. They can each respect one another's spaces. No, Islam always starts out enlightened, moderate, and peaceful, and always ends violent and totalitarian. It's built into the basic structure of that system. And well, Islam just needs a reformation. The Reformation did not make Christianity ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Christianity was not circumcising women prior to the Protestant Reformation. Yeah, okay, the indulgence thing was kind of bullshit, granted. Yeah, the priests were a bunch of hypocrites. They all had mistresses, and a lot of them had little boys on the side. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But, so did the Protestants. They weren't circumcising the women. So no, Islam is not going to have a reformation. It doesn't need a reformation. It already had one right at the start between Sunni and Shiite. For crying out loud. So yeah, there's probably a Reconquista in our future. We are at the Brothers Gramsci stage of Rome collapse right now. So in Roman history, the Brothers Gramsci got assassinated. In our history, Trump dodged that bullet. But it turns out that if the Brothers Gramsci hadn't been assassinated, they would have signed up for the same damn system, because it's the only game in town. You can't win, you can't even break even, and you can't get up and leave the table. So you'd better damn well play. Let's see. Was Jekyll Island 1913? So there you go. There you go. So they made sure they had their pieces in place just in case Britain fell to Germany. We're going to have our backup in America before we start the Great War. So there you frickin' go. You should stream playing Minecraft for the first time. It's been so long since I played that game. I had a lot of fun with it. Oh, Death Note is so fantastically autistic. So, okay, 2 hours. I'm going to close out in the next 15 minutes. So what the hell can we do if we're not going to vote our way out of this? What I am working on is the manipulation of metaphysical symbols, aka meme magic. It's real. When you manipulate the memes, you manipulate the perception of reality. When you manipulate the perception of reality, you manipulate reality. That's the level that we need to get to. One of the things that's been happening recently, over the past 20 years, is the placebo effect has been getting stronger. They cast the spell of consensus reality, which was scientific materialism. Which, the scientific materialism is a spiritual belief. It is neither, it's not something derived scientifically, and it's not something that's material either. It's an astral construct. It's the final astral construct of the Piscean age. So ironic, isn't it? Neither scientific nor material, it's scientific materialism. And this consensus reality pushed magic to the fringes. It was, you know what, it's Master of Magic. It's the spell of mastery. The spell of mastery is when you seize control of all the magic and you make it the default. So central banking and money printing becomes the default reality. It's no longer magic, it's just reality. Same thing, the manufactured culture war is now reality. It's not professional wrestling, it's reality. They cast the spell of mastery. They started casting it in the year 1700, and they finished it by 1950. They cast the spell of mastery and they won everything. And now the bill is coming due. The spell of mastery is failing. Consensus reality is decohering. Magic is returning. And cheap energy is running out. We live through the high. The hangover is here. Welcome to the suck. However, don't fear the hangover. You know, there's this bit of red pill advice. That some of the best times to go out and pick up women is when you're hungover. Because your voice drops half an octave. You're much more laconic. And you're not nervous because you don't give a shit about anything. That's what the future is going to look like. Embrace the opportunity for spiritual improvement. The warrior priest is the way of the future. The Jedi Knight is a forecast of what the Age of Aquarius is going to be all about. You see, if you go on the internets there and you are alienated from yourself, you're staring into that narcissist's mirror. And you're ranting and raving about the Brazilians and how they're behind it all. You get put on a list. But if you've integrated yourself, you can put on the brown robes of a hermit, and when the thought police arrive at your door, you can look at them and say, don't worry, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Because whether or not it's the Brazilians, it is what it is. Central banking works because people buy into the program. And screaming at the top of your lungs about it, well, you're manufacturing your own opposition in the process. When you cohere, when you know thyself, when you integrate your shadow, and you unlock your psychic potential. I say that Hylics have no psychic potential. But I'm pretty sure there aren't any Hylics watching this stream. This is far too schizoid for a Hylic. Listen, guys, it's not right to abuse Hylics. I don't know what the hell's going on with them. My old dog had more independence and free will than a lot of the people I meet. So it's not, I don't know what the hell is going on with Hylics. Maybe they are just NPCs, who knows? But, treat them with dignity. Let's see. Tell the Zodiac stuff. Just a sec. Cameron Harris says, "Don't worry, my vril levels are so high I can manifest a victory for our people in the future through sheer will." My goal. Like I won't achieve this goal, but like my aim for the stars, you might reach the moon, sort of thing. It's like I would like to get my vril levels to the point where I can impregnate a woman just by speaking to her in the right tone. That is where I'd like to be. I say we kick off another great awakening and ride the revival into the Reconquista. Magic is back, and now you can buy it. You can buy hours for $99.99.99. Yeah, the magic's coming back, folks. Embrace it. Start grabbing. The crown is lying there. I read a great article on Substack. I think I shared it on there. But they don't want you grabbing the crown. The best church leader I can point you to Archbishop Magano got excommunicated. What does that tell you about the church? There's that lady going viral right now on TikTok, phoning up different churches, pretending to be a single mother who can't afford formula for her baby. 95% of the churches tell her to F off. Everything I've said about politics, I hate to say it, I'd like somebody to say Deus Vult and instantiate a fifth crusade. I would volunteer for that army. We're not going to see that. The crown is laying there on the ground. And they want you to show such humility that you don't pick it up. Some leftist convinced himself that I was single-handedly responsible for Brexit. He died in hospital from a superbug infection in his foot 3 months later. Sounds like he got what he deserved. Triclops says, my interpretation of the Age of Aquarius is all about the elemental nature of fixed air. Fixed air is like a big glass that distorts light and truth. Yeah. That there is that. You know that, well, it can also be a microscope. It can also be a telescope. Distorted lenses can be a microscope or a telescope. It can also be a funhouse mirror. And yes, that's a great description of Aquarius. Vladimir Kranick watching from Winnipeg. Man, if you're ever out Calgary way, give me a shout. He memed himself to death. Oh, goodness. Not just memed, you know, the... Guys, I hope you didn't get the poke. Really do. And if you did, I hope you got the saline. Because the numbers are coming in and they're not good. Aquarius needs external validation to understand the world around them, aka group thinking. It is a very group-minded kind of a sign, yes. Weed a black pope? Well, I couldn't be worse than this pope. Actually, a black pope would probably be too based. I mean, you know, say what you will about the violent crime and the high time preference. That group is also not prone to being very dishonest with themselves. So you got to give them that. They don't play the stupid games. But we'll see what. I've heard it argued that Age of Pisces was all about the astral pyramids. The trying to cohere everybody into one way of thinking. The proselytizing religions. Like Age of... It's Age of... well, I literally have an article. By the way, there's an article down below from my Substack that I put a lot of effort into that. It's about how the different aeons work and the energies behind them. And it's, well, go click it. It's fantastic. Go read it. In previous eras, religion did not demand that you believed in it. Didn't care if you believed in it. I mean, like mechanics don't care if you believe in internal combustion engines. Religion was more like that back then. Age of Pisces, religion became very demanding. Even atheism is a proselytizing religion. These are the dying gasps of Age of Pisces. The multi-level marketing nature of the whole thing. And, you know, I dare say there is something to the whole Indigo Kid thing. Except the Indigo Kids, they weren't the cheerful light bringers that the boomers thought they'd be. The Indigo children were the ones put into the GATE program, sidelined their entire lives, who just suffer and suffer and suffer, denied job opportunities, you know, Israeli art student girlfriends, etc., etc. But they're still here and kicking. Space Cult Supreme right here. Get your tinfoil hats ready. You know, They make fun of, if they make that much fun of tinfoil hats, maybe it's because the tinfoil hats actually stop the beam. Who knows? Just a sec, I'm gonna get one. I need to grab a pack of cigarettes. No, there is something happening. I wouldn't be. Again, we're getting into the crazy schizoid woo right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if part of what we see by this conjunction. Oh, which, by the way, if 3I Atlas is not just an ancient asteroid, February 20th is about roughly when they get into orbit of Earth. If, I don't know that they are. I am just saying. And I've also heard that blew up and it's just, but I don't know. I'm hearing mixed things. I don't know. It's just another sign in the sky, isn't it? Remember, if the aliens show up and they tell you that Islam is a religion of peace and to embrace the MAPs, that's when you know it's Project Bluebeam. Judge the message on its internal moral coherence. But failing the aliens arriving, it could be when the psychic abilities come back. Woke aliens, oh fuck. Watch the leftist sheep volunteer to go up into the ship to be human batteries. My view on non-commercial, non-military space exploration. I mean, I want commercial space exploration. I want us to start mining asteroids. But they need to freaking allow smoking on the spaceships. None of this vaping crap, man. We need cigarettes up there. Assuming space is real. I mean, like at this point, man, like I'm pretty sure we landed on the moon. But I don't know. There were a lot of Nazis working for NASA back then. NASA is a pretty far out place. You know what I'm saying? Warrior monks. Warrior monks. That is the future, gentlemen. Integrate your shadow. You know, and if Star Wars is too nerdy for you, and Star Wars is pretty nerdy, but it's also profoundly Jungian. I mean, that shift of Luke Skywalker from like the first movie where he's the naive hero and he's just the good guy, to the second movie where he fails the whole way through. Everything he does is a failure. And he's dressed in gray. And the third movie where he's dressed in black, and the first time you see him, he uses Force choke as if he's a Sith. Profoundly Jungian. George Lucas was tapping into something there. The third movie especially, I need to do a review of Return of the Jedi, because I honestly think it's the best one. Or I think maybe not the best, it's the most profound one. I understand, like, Empire is amazing. So well put together. Return of the Jedi has a couple of minor flaws, but it's also a very difficult story to explain. The first two are very easy to follow. Return of the Jedi is not easy to follow. And it could have used a tighter script, fair enough. But the movie starts off with Luke setting a trap for Jabba the Hutt. And the only way for Jabba to escape the trap is for Jabba to be a good person. If Jabba the Hutt decides to be a good person, he gets to live. If he continues being an evil, like the trap is set up in such a way that if Jabba follows his default instincts, it will close upon him, it will kill him. Which it in fact does. Which foreshadows Luke's later encounter with the Emperor. The Emperor has a trap for Luke, where Luke's desire for justice, Luke's desire for good government, the rebellion that he's taken on as his own mission. If he pursues it to its logical end, he will become the new Darth Vader. You know, I imagine if the Emperor's plan had gone if it had gone according to plan, Luke Skywalker would have killed Darth Vader, and the Emperor would have said Darth Vader was the guy in charge of the Empire. He's the one that decided it was going to be a military dictatorship. Now that, all right, Luke, you're now in charge. I'll still be here as the official, the official head of government so that people follow your orders, but I'm handing over the entire galactic empire to the rebellion. Luke, you're now in charge. Everything you wanted is yours. And we would have replaced the Nazi-coded galactic empire with some sort of socialist-coded empire. We would have gone from Nazi Germany to Soviet Russia. And the emperor would still be in charge. And the only way for Luke to overcome that was to be a good person and forgive his father. And that defeated the emperor. And if that's too nerdy for you, watch Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is the same story, except the good guys lose. How much do you want to bet Justin Trudeau got a date with Katy Perry because he blackmailed her to... No, that was his reward for destroying Canada, and that was her humiliation ritual to show that she's a good soldier. They both work for the same people. Yeah, like the third Star Wars movie does have, it's got some, that part I just explained about the Emperor should have been elucidated more. It should have been, if you defeat Darth Vader, then you get to be, then I'll give it to your rebellion. Emperor should have said something like that. How this fight between you two turns out, if you can defeat your father, then I'll tell my ships to stand down. Something like that. And the beginning scene with Jabba the Hutt, it was one of those Xanatos gambits that doesn't make sense if you think about it too much. So the script could have been tightened up a bit, granted. But thematically, the ideas, the integrating the shadow and forgiving the father, those were profound, especially for Lucas was a baby boomer. Telling their dads to fuck off is pretty much all the boomers ever did. So for him to put that in there is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the latest trilogy. Fuck those movies. The reason Luke could defeat the Emperor is because he fully integrated himself. Because when you integrate your shadow, what they do is they get us to fight with our own shadows on the political arena. we project our shadows onto the other, and we fight that. And by doing that, we never integrate our own shadow. We just engage in the endless culture war, which insulates the people manufacturing the culture war. You're never going to defeat Hollywood by taking a side in the Star Wars movies. The left, right, these are the Jedi Sith in the movies. You're not going to defeat George Lucas by yelling about how much you hate the Sith. It's a show put on for your amusement, to keep you on the reservation so that they can harvest your loosh. They can collect your tax dollars. You are a bee in the honey hive, and they're taking all your honey. Because what you're fighting against is yourself. You're yelling at your anima. You're struggling against your shadow, as opposed to integrating it. I'll finish. Okay, I will tell you one example. One particular example that I hope illustrates this. The TV series To Catch a Predator was at the height of popularity at the same period of time when we had Britney Spears, 16 years old, singing songs about sex. The reason To Catch a Predator was so possible, was so popular, is because its audience was full of the men that lusted after Britney Spears, but were in denial about it. We have the cultural engine splitting off the shadow perfectly, excising it like a surgical procedure, and thus preventing knowing thyself. And by the way, these men, their fundamental issue was not that they lusted after teenagers. That was not actually the problem. The problem is that these were men that grew up in the 80s, and in the 80s, the way that you found the love of your life is that you got a machine gun and you killed all the bad guys. That's what we learned from every single action movie. And these men, because they'd never picked up a machine gun, they'd never killed all the bad guys, they hadn't met the love of their life. The woman they were married to was just the placeholder girlfriend. She was the bitchy naggy girlfriend. And the movies had told them, one day in the future, you'll just know kung fu, you'll fight off the ninjas, and then, after you do that heroic deed, then you meet the love of your life. Your wife of 7 years that you've had 3 children with, she's just the placeholder. You know, if you go with Total Recall, she's actually a secret agent meant to trick you into thinking this is your real life. Secretly, you're a hero. So these aging men see the sexuality of 16-year-old Britney Spears that Hollywood is pumping at them, and they reflect upon their failures. And secretly they desire that, but they won't admit it to themselves. So they celebrate a series that entraps guys that were doing creepy shit Although keep in mind, there wasn't a single prosecution that resulted from that TV series. Yeah, they had that really exciting PvP, cops take down the guy at the end, but there actually weren't any prosecutions. There were 2 suicides, however. That is what excising the shadow and projecting it onto the wall of Plato's cave looks like. Necro Dancer says he never. See, Necro Dancer, because you never denied jacking it to her, this is why you're psychologically integrated, at least in that aspect. You're not pretending that you're part of some sort of moral crusade by watching a fucking reality TV show. The people that watched that show were LARPing that they were good guys, that they were Luke Skywalker for sitting down and watching a damn show. Sutek says, I always like to tell people that get caught up in the theater, inside is out. Yes. The inside is out and the outside is in. Precisely. As above, so below. As within, so without. Anytime you catch yourself getting really angry, getting revenge fantasies, that's not actually somebody else that you're angry at, it's yourself. Integrate that shadow, become whole. That is when your psychic abilities start manifesting. I am the walrus. Who knows? Maybe Lenin got it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's an agent for the system, but who knows? Maybe he actually did get it. That said, 2.5 hours is too long for a live stream. Jesus, I didn't know if I'd have enough material to go an hour, but we've gone 2.5, so hopefully I haven't lost all of you. Carpe futurum, tene traditum. Become the Jedi you are always meant to be. This is Aurini.